Cool. So hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I have a very special guest with me. I know Prakhar for a very long time. He was in the same college from where I passed out. So it's been like around 8.5 years now. We've been knowing each other. He's a great techie. He's a great person. Generally also, and he's currently working in Microsoft. He has recently cracked a lot of offers, including companies like Microsoft, Google, Coinbase, Media.net, Oracle, and I don't know, even he might have cracked so many other startups also, but these are the big companies where he have cracked. So I requested him a few days back, like if he can come on channel and let people know his experience so that you can also learn from him. And that's where it all started. And today we have him on our channel. And welcome, Prakhar. Thanks for taking out time to come here.
Thanks a lot, Udit. Thanks a lot, and it's a pleasure for me to basically do this for the community. So basically, as you told, we have been knowing like each other for quite a long time now, and yeah, like looking forward to this conversation. Like you have already told what kind of like I would say bonding and all we have. So it's to be very honest, it's great to hear from a techie himself that like how the things have gone and also yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Great, great.
Yeah.
So today, how we gonna structure this conversation is, so I have some of the questions from my side, which I'll start with, and and I'll request everyone who is on the podcast or on the session today on YouTube to just keep posting your questions um, in the chat on YouTube. And what I'll do after my questions, I'll start taking up those questions which are there in the chat. So feel free to put your questions in the chat, whatever you have for Prakhar to answer. So I'll start with mine first, right away. Um, so, as we all know now, right? Like you have recently cracked so many offers, so many companies. So obviously, you have given so many interviews, right? I want to understand, like from your perspective, what do you think these big companies are looking for? What all sort of competencies are they looking for on the high level? Um, what all should one prepare if they want to approach these kind of companies?
Okay, got it. So yeah, that's I would say one of the questions that most of the people should know, like how to approach that. So, based on my experience last year when I started giving the interviews and all, so what I found that either it's startup or it's big MNCs and all. Generally, what they are looking for, I'll talk on a very high level right now. That the first thing that they look is that how well you are on the logical aspect, right? So if they sort of give you a puzzle or a logical question, how well you can solve it, what's your approach and all. It's your problem solving capability. So that basically comes under the data structure and algorithm subhead, I would say. uh, and based on your experience and the wave that is there in the market, today companies also focus on sort of high level design and low level design. So these are the three technical aspects which I would say 99% of the companies focus. It's sort of a DS algorithm round. It can vary on the number of rounds. It's a high level discussion, a low level discussion, and one of the new rounds that I have seen particularly in, I would say, last couple of years is sort of a behavioral round. That how well basically you behave in some sort of difficult situations, because for a senior engineer or this I've seen for I've seen this for senior engineers, that how well you do bonding in your team. If you are in a situation of type A, what is your reaction to that? How do you act on that? Whether you have a conflict or something like that, if you are in difficult situation. So more or less, these are the four types of interview that generally I have seen in all the companies that I have attempted to do. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's start and let's try to understand each one of the competencies one by one.
Mhm.
So, first thing that you said is coding and problem solving.
Yep.
So, I think many people would be aware of it, what it is. But if we talk about the kind of level they are looking at, so I see there are three questions in lead code: easy, medium, and hard.
Yeah.
And if I want to prepare for these companies, then should I, try for solving all the hard questions? Should I solve for medium, or would I be good with just easy questions? So, what do you think? if we talk generally about these kind of companies, what level should I be at if I want to feel myself like, okay, I'm prepared for the interviews now?
Got it, got it. Yeah, great question. So generally, if I talk about the companies these days now, so I know there are three levels on lead code, but generally most of the companies, most of the, I would say, big companies, they focus on, I would say, lead code medium and lead code hard problem, or there could be a third section that it's a little bit close to hard question, like greater than a medium level and less than a hard level, sort of that question. In all the interviews that I gave, generally the questions were of this level, except a couple of companies, they focused on lead code hard. That's what I saw. So yeah, it totally varies upon the company, but we should ideally focus on solving maximum number of medium problems, because it's not that the same problem will be asked in that particular interview, but it's that you're brushing up on your problem solving capability. uh,
Got
so like I'll tell you one thing, like I gave interviews, I would say, of 8 companies or so, and believe me, not even a single question was asked from the filter of that particular company that is there on the lead code. So
got it.
because the interviewer should also have the subscription to see that, okay, these are the 50 questions that company A asks, so I'll ask from this, right? So it's that you brush up on that, those things, and a similar sort of questions will be asked. So more or less that's it, lead code medium and starting of lead code hard.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Okay, one more thing I'll just tell in between to all the
yeah.
people who are watching right now. So we are live. Yes, somebody has mentioned there's a question live. So
Mhm.
we are live, but I've not started taking up questions from the chat. I'll be taking questions from the chat very soon. We have got a bunch of questions. But let me cover the basic stuff first, and then I'll take up the questions from the chat.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. So as Prakhar told, mostly companies focus on medium. I think that's what my experience is also the same. Um, some companies do ask hard questions also, but I think most of the range is either medium or starting range of hard, which exactly what Prakhar said. Okay, let's then next move to the second category, second competency, which is the low level design, right? So, what does low level design actually mean? Because system design is a very vast topic. Can you help us clarify what do you mean by low level design and what do you mean by high level design, and what kind of interviews are there in each of the rounds, and what kind of problems are asked, and then we'll go to the preparation strategy later on. But let's first decouple low level design and high level design from each other.
Yeah, yeah, got it. So, as you told, like system design is a very vast topic, these days. But it's sort of a term that is floating in the market, that high level design and low level design. So, generally, system design is something that how you design a system. And if I talk about the high level and low level design, then like suppose someone says that design book my show. Just taking an example. So if I talk about the things that how a user interacts with the system and how the total flow goes into the whole system, like probably making an account or seeing the filters, that which are the movies, how I can book those movies and whatnot, completion of the transaction, and also this, the complete system design is the complete design of a particular problem is known as sort of high level design. In a very layman terms, I'm telling, not going into the technicals. And if I talk about the low level design, then you just pick a specific problem in that high level design. Like for example, going at the like designing a chess. If I say designing a chess, right? So designing a chess is not a complex problem. You know what are the rules that when the game will close, and like what are the steps that each particular player can do at a particular point of time. But it's just that how you design it so that your solution, like your code is extensible, it is easy to maintain and all. What are the design patterns that you follow, whether you follow the solid principles or not, how well you write the code so that it is easy for the other, I would say, your teammate to understand your code. Because there's a saying in like software industry that your code should speak it all, right? So
Correct.
your code should be capable enough to tell that, okay, these are the components in my code, and this class is there just for this particular task, and this class is not a god class that it is doing everything and all. So
Correct.
low level design is logically not a tough problem, but how you design that problem. High level design is basically solving the complete problem. Each and every component is sort of discussed at a very high level. That is
Got
what
it.
I understand. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. And one more thing is, in terms of low level design, many people are also concerned about this concurrency based questions. I think recently these questions have become a little popular, where they
Hmm.
ask you to deal with threads, they ask you to deal with, you know, multiple requests coming in at the same time, so concurrent requests coming in. What do you think, how frequent is this kind of a question is asked in different set of companies where you gave interviews? Is this kind of question also asked, or was this question not there?
Yeah. So I'll be very honest. If I talk about the frequency of these type of questions, it was near about 30 to 40%. So normally, like I'll just give an example. In one of the interviews, in one of the companies, they asked me to design Amazon. Now, it's not a typical question because you are giving an interview for a senior position. So generally, it's not a book's question that you'll just find on the internet. So multiple aspects were touched, like for example, how will Amazon behave, or what will be the workflow from seller's point of view. And there was also a phase in that interview where they went into the concurrency part, like when you place an order, how actually that is placed at the database level, how the request goes. And also, I would say 30 to 40% of the times interviewers do go at that level, concurrency and all. But I would still say that probably it's more of a thing that is going on in the market, that these are hard problems to solve. You just need to work on your basics. That's what I have seen. Working on just some of the basics really helps you, because these are the small pieces that help you solve the bigger problem, right? Whether it's Amazon or anything. Now that can be typical for some cases, but generally the having basic knowledge and having that, I would say, having the proper knowledge really helps you. So 30 to 40% interviews do
Got
cover
it.
this.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we are good over there. And how about machine coding rounds? Is Are these big companies also taking these machine coding rounds, or is it only popular in startups?
Yeah, so these are in both type of companies. Like one of the so mostly startups focus on this machine coding round, but startups are also, I will categorize in very high paying jobs. Like I would say, uh, like going in multiple digits. I won't say that, but yeah, even high paying jobs. If you talk about the startups now, they mostly focus on the machine coding round as well, and they have a I would say very detailed pointing system. Like for example, if they expect you to design n number of classes and these functions should be there, so if
Right.
you are not close to that solution, na, you lose marks on that. That I have seen. So normally startups go through that. Normally only startups focus on that. But yeah, but that round can go up to 1.5 hours as well. So, but
Yes.
yeah, and that sort of is going towards a low level design part,
Got
because
it.
they see how you design the classes and all. So each and everything is seen in that. So machine coding is sort of a low level design. That's what I have seen.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've also seen the similar experience
Mhm.
where machine coding round is definitely based on LLD, but it's also
Mhm.
asked only in startups,
Mhm.
not in the bigger companies like Amazon. Amazon does not ask it. Microsoft also, I remember, does not ask it. Adobe also does not ask. Google also does
No.
not ask. So mainly these big companies do not ask these machine coding round. The smaller companies do ask them, or you can say startups do ask them.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Like for me, Coinbase did that. I had a couple of machine coding rounds there. Normally they
Okay.
have a fixed format. Coinbase has a fixed format. So out of 4 or 5 rounds, two were machine coding round, and they were, I would say, 90 minutes round. So
Got it.
yeah,
2 rounds of machine coding is a new thing for me. Okay, I think some
yeah,
companies have started doing that also now.
yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah,
Cool. Let's move forward to
yeah.
the leadership. Again, Amazon, I think, started this leadership interviews. That's what I know, at least. I don't know if other companies were also asking it earlier, but
Mhm.
they had this method of leadership principles and asking behavioral questions. But now, as you also mentioned, I'm also seeing many other companies have also started asking these behavioral questions. So, what do you think? Out of the companies, again, you have given interviews to all these good companies, is it becoming common to all the companies, or do you still feel, no, is it very specific to Amazon, or only to a bunch of one or two companies, or is it very popular, it is getting popular to all the companies?
Uh, like based on my experience, I think it is getting popular for all the companies. Either those are
Okay.
big MNCs or startups. So generally in MNCs, what you have sort of a director round or something like that, where they discuss the technicals as well as the behavioral aspect of the candidate. And I won't say startups, like Google has a Googliness round, right? So that is totally based on the behavioral part. And
Got it.
yeah, if I talk about the other MNCs, then They generally, I would say, again, that is included in the director round only. Mostly that's the thing, director or senior director sort of thing. So 2 rounds are clubbed, I would say, but every company is focusing on that because
Got it.
they want that the culture is sort of not diluted enough so that even a single person is coming, he doesn't dilute the culture. The culture should be good enough. You should be collaborative, not competitive for that, right?
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Cool. I think I'm done with my questions, and I should not let the questions wait in the chat, and I should start asking them. So I'll start with each other question, and again, everyone, if you have any questions, anything for Prakhar to answer, please put your question in the chat. I'll be taking them up one by one. So first question I have from Vishal. He's saying by looking at Google's tech questions on Lead Code, it seems Google asks a lot of hard questions. Now, this has become demotivating for him as he's not getting confident. Um, I mean, he's not confident that he will be able to solve any hard question in the time constraint, right? So, how do you deal with it? Like, you correct Google's interview. So, how did you come over solving hard question in the time constraint?
So I would say now the only answer for this question is like we can go into the detail, but generally, if I describe it in one word, na, that is consistency. Because if someone dreams to join Google or any other company, mostly companies focus on that, and if we know that sort of they will focus on lead code hard, na, then all you need to do is focus on that type of question. Like I would say that level of question, not that type of question. Like for example, lead code hard can include a question of segment tree or bind index tree, but
Right.
no interviewer is gonna ask that. But generally, I would say just practice. Whenever you receive a call from Google, the interviewers are very helpful. Sorry, the HRs are very helpful. They will only ask you that practice 75 medium questions, 75 hard questions with time constraints. So it's just the practice that you need. Try to be consistent. Give lead code contest. There is a contest on every Sunday 8 a.m. Maybe too early for some of the folks, but yeah, it will become a habit if you give that. And there are bi-weekly contests, and whenever you solve a question, try to keep a stopwatch. It doesn't matter how much time you take in the first attempt. All you need to do is that in the nth attempt you are taking less time as compared to n minus 1th attempt. Like you are improving, that's the main thing. So take time. It takes time. Take for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever time frame you think is best for you for the preparation. Don't hurry. That's the main thing that I see. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I have a follow-up question on this.
Yeah.
Since you talked about consistency, right?
Yeah.
Many mentees which I have been having, most of them complain ki I have the work also daily. I have to, join office. 7 8 hours are in office. So I start at 10 a.m. I finish at 8 p.m. Somewhere around that. Maybe sometimes they have to stretch, and after finishing the office, they become so exhausted, right? It's very difficult to focus on coding at that time, and that's one of the major problem which my mentees have been telling me for quite a long time. Okay, now because you did it actually, you also had a job, you were also preparing for interviews, right, in parallel. So how did you manage your time? Because to maintain that consistency thing, you have to take out time. If you're not able to take
Yeah.
out time, then how would you maintain the consistency? So what would be your suggestion to be consistent, or specifically to take out time out of the work?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would say a question that is in most of the people's mind. Yeah, I totally agree. This was a problem that I even faced. So as you told, like, that normally the work hours lie between 8 to 9 hours and all. So I
Yeah.
totally agree. First thing is that like be honest to your work. I'll be very honest. Like for whichever company you're working, give time. Whatever that company requires the time, that's the first priority. I know switching is a priority, but first complete that time. Now you are done with that. Now there are two options. Either you can do a couple of codes in the morning or in the evening after the office. Now if you have a problem that in the evening the probably the concentration level is not that much, then probably start with the morning thing. Like if your office starts at 10 a.m., then you can do a couple of codes at 9 a.m. Like I did that, to be very honest. And I also tried a couple of things. I'll just tell, maybe it will not work for everyone, but most of the people are saying that in the evening the concentration is not that much. So
Yeah.
whenever you schedule the interview, na, it's not that you will be the interview will be scheduled in whatever time you want, right? The time is mutually, I would say, agreed. So maybe you can have an interview at evening or at night as well. you have interviews outside India. So you should also practice problems when you are not, when you are a little bit tired as well. That is also a thing to try, because you
Makes
will not
sense.
get the best of the conditions. Like, conditions will not be in your favor every time. Like that's an ideal world. An ideal one doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
if you are doing warm up, if you are starting coding after too much time, start from the morning. Take out some time. You need to take out time. You take out time for lunch and dinner, so you have to take out time and do some practice. And on Saturdays and Sundays, stretch. I'll be very honest, I did a lot of coding in my college. So at that time, I would say, when I started coding last year, I used to target, I would say, 3 4 questions per day, easy
Okay.
ones, just for warm up, just for syntax and that. And post that, you can target, I would say, more than 10 questions or weekends, because it's that how, which deadline you decide that you want to crack an interview, you want to start giving interviews. Because
Right.
yeah, preparation is a gray area, it can't be complete, right? Whenever you prepare now, you say that, okay, I'll need this much more preparation, I'll be prepared by this month, but that doesn't happen. You should do it parallelly. So yeah, that's it. Probably you need to take out time either in the morning or at the night, and try both of the things to
Got it.
not be in that ideal situation. Yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
Makes sense. Let's move to the next question.
yeah.
So next question is from Praveen. He's asking like, did you prepare for LLD interviews? I think you did because you said you've given interviews for them. And the next question is, if so, how did you prepare? So I think the major question is the like your preparation strategy for LLD.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So I'll be very honest. Like, I was one of the fortunate guys to, when I was in Adobe. Na, I was in a team which the work was pretty good. I would say I I I I used to design things. So LLD was sort of things that I used to do there, not from the interview perspective, but yeah, because we were revamping things and we were doing a lot of stuff. So I had some practice from there, and also I had an interest in this, like knowing the solid principles and all. So I was having, I would say, a base before the interviews as well. But when I started the interviews, there were a couple of resources. This material is one of the best. I'll be very honest, for LLD on YouTube. You can find. So my host has one of the best
Thanks, Prakhar, for
materials
this.
for that. To be very honest, so I went through through those videos, and I would say these were the only resources. And you can also use Grokking. Grokking has an object oriented category where they show you some problems how to solve. But generally, owning it in the company was very helpful for me. So that's how I prepared for LLDs. Yeah, and
Makes sense.
use pen and paper. Yeah, just one thing: use pen and paper. Whenever you see a question, now don't just think that, okay, these will be the classes. To reach that level, use pen and paper, so that when you write things now, you get to know that, okay, is this one of the best designs or not. Discuss it with your peers and all. See videos. Like, if you go to someone's channel, like, even if I talk about Udit's channel, if you see a problem, that design a chest, design it yourself, then compare it with that design. See that what is the difference between the thought process. So this will really help. I did this. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, even I would also agree to whatever he said. Like, doing low level design in your actual job is the best way to learn it.
yeah,
Try to think, okay, where can you apply some design patterns? How how a particular code that you have written is following design principles or not. So even in my initial years of career, I also learned low level design in my first company itself, and that's where it helped me a lot. So I think best way to learn LLD is in your company only. So yeah, great advice, I think, Prakhar. Thanks for
yeah.
that. Let's
Thank you.
move to the next question. That is from Ankur. Ankur is asking, is there any different round at Coinbase compared to other FANG companies? I have heard about concurrency round.
Okay, so like, based on my experience, I haven't seen. The only different round that Coinbase has is the machine coding round. A couple of machine coding rounds that told, but concurrency, specifically any concurrency related round, was not there. And that is true for, I would say, a couple of weeks back as well, because one of the guys connected with me and he was giving Coinbase interview, and the pattern has not changed. So concurrency round is not there as far as I know from a couple of candidates and based on my experience as well.
Got it.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good. Next question is again from Praveen. I think after LLD, so how did you also prepare for HLD interviews? So again, what was
Okay,
the strategy for HLD preparation?
okay. So HLD, what I followed, that So again, grokking was there. So on grokking, you have a list of problems, but I'll be very honest. Since those problems are known to everyone, probably interviewers are not gonna ask those problems, right? So in LLDs, what are the things that you cover? Focus on that. Like for example, generally you design a cache, right? So work on a so see what are the caches available and go deep into one of the caches that you think is the best.
Right.
Work on databases. Like there are a couple of types of databases, like relational database, non-relational database. Go in depth in a couple of them. Like pick one relational, pick one non-relational. You want to design servers. You want to design. I would say like API gateway is there, load balancer is there. So for each and everything, just see that what is the good. Like pick cache, go in depth. Now you know when you need to use cache and why you are using this cache. For
Right.
NoSQL, suppose you are picking up Cassandra, so go in depth how Cassandra works. So focus on pick one of the components, go in that particular field, see what are the options available, which suits you best, and then go in depth. Now once you are done with this now, try to pick any problem. Like this is what I did. Like pick any problem A. Now try use pen and paper and try to solve that problem. How will you solve that? Now go to grokking. Now see what is the difference between your solution and grokking solution. So for any type of problem, either it's DSLGO, HLD or LLD, my main approach is that first try to do that problem yourself. You should always have a reference to compare your solution, but first try to solve it yourself. So that's what I followed. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. I think that's a very good suggestion. Even I recommend this to my mentees whenever I connect with them. So, like these LLDs or HLD discussions, as you also said, like they need discussions, right? Discussions as in because if let's say you are in a company, you can discuss with your peers. If you are in some setting, you can discuss with other person who you are sitting with. So generally, these kind of system design, whether it's LLD or HLD, they need discussions. And one of the very good ways to have a discussion without anyone is to do a discussion with yourself. And how do
Yeah.
you do a discussion with yourself? By coming up with your own solution first, and then maybe watch some resource, maybe somebody's video, or grokking design, or anywhere you see some design, then compare it with your design. Okay, your design has XYZ as good, and PQR is bad, and other person's design is something else is good and something else is bad. And that's where actually you will learn better that okay, this is something you did good, another person missed, and what you missed actually, which you could have also included, and that's where you will figure out your gaps, and that's how you can learn. I think that's a very good suggestion by Prakhar ki you should try to solve a problem first by yourself and then compare with other person's solution to get better at them.
Yeah.
Secondly, also, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, please. No, no. I just wanted to add one point. Please, you finish and then I'll just add. Yeah.
Yeah, one, one more thing which you added is to take some components out of the whole design part. Like one thing, as you said, database, one thing maybe caches, one thing maybe persistent connections, one thing maybe queues like Kafka, another component might be backend services. So there are multiple, I would say, 7, 8 components in the system design on top level. I would say categories of components
Hmm.
in system design, and you can learn about them. Okay, if storage problem has to be solved and what are different storage are possible, databases, S3s, there are different kind of storage possible, and which one is useful for which use case, and why is that so, right? And similarly, what caching strategies are available and which one is available in each one of them. Similarly for queues and also, again, a very good suggestion by Prakhar ki try to break the whole system design into different components, and then take up that component and learn it, and then try to use it in your system design. So I think both the suggestion
Yeah.
which Prakhar has given, they are really great. Yeah, Prakhar, you were saying something. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I was just so whatever points you told are valid. Just one extra thing: whenever someone goes and sees a problem, na, like for example, if you want to solve a problem of HLD, and you directly go to the resource, na, then you don't have a direction. You just go in that direction because your mindset is not working that you can go in different directions, right? Like
Correct.
even if I talk about a basic problem like design paste bin or something like that, if you directly go to the resource, then what will happen? Whenever you see a similar sort of question, na, you will go in that direction. But there is a possibility that you can think of a better design, or
Right.
probably the interviewer has tweaked the question but you are thinking in that particular design. I have seen people in interviews and mock interviews where uh, means I'm just saying that generally people use cache, and when I ask that like is there any particular reason that you are using cache, they say no,
Yeah.
just we are using cache. So this is some sort of thing that is not going to help you in the interview. So
Correct.
that's why, yeah, have a good strategy for preparation. Take time, it will take time. So
Correct.
we
Correct.
have
So
a big
actually,
life. Yeah,
Again, a very good suggestion: ki use components in the system design interview, but don't use them blindly. Have the correct
yeah,
understanding why a particular component is important and what benefit is it giving you, and what will you not achieve if you do not have that component in design. Like just like cache is an example. Even I've seen this exact same problem in one of many interviews actually which I took. People use cache, Kafka, those fancy things,
yeah,
and when I
yeah,
ask why, then they are blank. They just say, okay, this we feel is a scalable thing and it will help us. No, that is not acceptable. You have to understand why you are making a particular choice and why that particular thing is useful. Because if you include something in your design, that makes your design complex. It includes cost,
yeah,
maintenance cost. Even you have to pay more dollars to the cloud companies or wherever you're hosting your backend services and all. So whenever you are making a system complex, make sure that is needed. Unnecessarily, you should not do that.
hmm,
Cool. I think that was a good discussion on HLD. Another question that we have next from Hishikesh is, how did you prepare for HLD, LLD? These two things actually we have already covered. The third
hmm.
part is concurrency. So, how did you prepare for concurrency?
Yeah, so I think again from concurrency, as I told, na, so most of the folks having basic strong is very important, and like again similar to HLD, LLD or DSLGO, you need brushing up your concept for concurrency. So one of the best things that I find on lead code is there you have a concurrency section as well. So probably just brush up that concept. And if you're talking about what is the resource that you can use, then I use some free videos from YouTube only. You can just Google, and since I code in Java, normally concurrency concept is same for every language, but I code in Java, so I preferred that, and I just use some YouTube videos. You can just Google it, and based on that, try to solve a couple of problems on lead code. They have a very good section on concurrency, and that will be more than enough. I'll be very honest. That will be
Okay.
more than enough. Yeah,
Right. One more thing, maybe, which I would like to add here, which has
yeah,
helped me also. In I think whatever you said is completely correct. You have to practice,
yeah.
and I also use Java, so I also practice in Java.
Mhm.
But one addition like which helped me is, so Java is all the full library is open, right? It's open source
Ah,
library,
got it.
and you have very good libraries which are actually handling concurrency in a very good manner. Like
Mhm.
scheduled executor is one of the thing,
Yeah,
which is where you can find delays, where you can find threading and all, and thread waits, notify, and all those things are really implemented in a very good manner. And I think um, anyone who wants to learn concurrency, they can also go into those libraries and just check out their code. Okay, see
yeah.
what they have written, how that library is working. Because I can give an example. So Uber asked me this question of, I think, scheduled task or something like that, in their interview, I think last year, and that was
Mhm.
based on concurrency only. And exactly that was a question which was library was solving. And if you would have gone through that library already, then you already know like how to code that problem. So I think for concurrency, one thing I feel ki number of YouTube videos or the resources are little less.
Hmm.
So if I think Java's open source library itself is a very good resource for it. You can just go into, just control command click if you're using Mac, and go into the library and you will see the full code and you will look at it, right? So I think that's one another
Yeah.
resource that people can use.
Totally
So
agree. Totally agree. I used to do that. So yeah, I totally agree. Not for concurrency, but for other things, you get
yeah,
to see a good documentation and a good sort of code written by pretty good programmers. So yeah, you learn a lot. Yeah.
yeah, even
Good.
hash maps, if you see, hash map is
Yeah.
a very good example of, again, going into the code and see how they have written it, that balancing logic of each of the
Yeah.
bucket that they do, right? After some
Yeah.
time they convert into a tree and all. So
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
going into deep into Java libraries helps a lot and gives you a lot of
So
learning.
yeah, just I want to add one thing. So related to Java library, I do remember I saw it sometime and Google asked me that. So I was having one of the rounds in Google, and they asked me a DSLGO question, and yeah, that was done. So I was using sorting in that. So they
Yeah,
asked me some internals of sorting, not the basic stuff like so. If you go into the Java doc, na, if you go into that code, so you know that it is based on the number of elements, this sorting technique you use,
got it.
right? So
Got it.
this was something that I saw in the Java docs or in the code sometime when I was looking into the editor, and that helped me that day. So yeah, that's very helpful. Otherwise, a good sorting algorithm, and for everything probably you will be using that sorting algorithm, but that is not true everywhere, right? So
Correct.
yeah, yeah, it helped me in a real interview. I just I just recall that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds great. Okay. Next question was from Jitain, but it was exactly same, so we'll skip it.
Mhm.
Um, Next question is from Vineet. He's just asking you, do you know Java? I think. we said already, so we are good there. Uh, Next question is from Vishal. It's an interesting question. So, how to get over the fear of getting blocked for a year, which is the case with FB and Google. Even I had this question in my mind, and even a lot of my mentees have this question in mind. Ki they just keep delaying their, interviews. Ki, okay, we prepare more, we'll prepare more. We'll not give interviews right now because if we fail, then we'll be, blocked for 1 year. So, I mean, one question is this, like how to get over the fear. I also want to add up a follow-up question onto this. Like when's the good time to actually, okay, say now I will give interview and I'll not delay anymore. So I want to first
Yeah.
cover this question, please. But yeah, then I'll want to discuss that question also.
Sure, sure. So I'll talk about my experience and then we'll come to this question as well. So what happened last year? So generally Google contacts a number of folks for interviews and all, and they are very friendly that they give you ample amount of time, whatever you need. So
Yeah.
I think last year, March or April, they connected with me and I was saying, no, I need 15 days, 1 month, and sort of it was getting delayed. And to be very honest, I was not practicing. I'll be very honest. That time I was not looking for a switch.
Yeah.
But when I started looking for a switch now, so believe me, I did not take too much time. I probably took another 15 days or so, and I asked them that, okay, I'm ready for the interview. The reason is that, look, there are two things. Either I'm ready for the interview or I'm not ready for the interview. If I'm ready, let's go for it. If I'm not ready for the interview, I know what are the things that are missing. Because generally what happens now, Facebook and Google, like if I talk about Facebook, what I have seen from the experiences, like I did not give interview because till that time things were finalized. So I thought again going into an iteration will take time. So Facebook, they have a fixed pattern. Normally companies have a fixed pattern. I'll not say that for Google, but for Facebook you have a fixed pattern. They ask you for example, lead code hard problem. You need to solve a couple of problems in those 45-50 minutes. So
Yeah.
you know the pattern, you know what level they will ask. Just go and practice, and that's good to go. Once you are able to solve those questions in sort of 20 minutes or 25 minutes with a working code, then you are good to go. But again, that depends on the mindset as well. So you need practice. So the fear of getting blocked is there. I was also having that. But last year when I thought that no, I need a switch, it was that, I would say, that trigger that said that okay, you are interview ready now, let's go for it. So it's just, there is something in the mind that is blocking you. Because if you know what is missing, you can just go and prepare. You know what is being asked in Facebook and Google. Just practice lead code hard problems, and that's good to go. I'll be very honest. Yeah.
Got it. And how about this question, like how to get over the fear of getting blocked? So if let's say somehow I give interviews and
Yeah.
I fail, then I'll be blocked for a year, right? So is
Yeah.
it good? Is it bad? I mean, should I not give interview
So,
because of this?
so yeah, okay. So I'll tell you a very very good thing. What this is my thought process. So generally, what happens? People don't give interview because they think that okay, they will be, in worst case they'll be rejected and blocked for a year. But you're not giving the interview, and you don't know that whether you will be accepted or rejected, and if rejected, what is the shortcoming, like what are the things that you are missing, right? So you are already getting blocked. Even if you give interview after 5 months with this sort of mindset now, then maybe the result will not go your way. So you are delayed by 1 year and 5 months because you are
Correct.
delaying that 5 months. But probably giving the interview, like have good amount of preparation and then giving the interview and working on the things that you missed is probably a better approach. Because you can't change the policy. They block you for a year and that's perfectly fine. But you need to give the interview because interviews are totally different. One candidate, it is possible that one of the days belongs to a candidate and he is able to solve every question, and
Correct.
there is a possibility that for a particular candidate that day is one of the worst days of his life, so he's not able to solve that question, right? So you need to feel that you need to be in that zone, and then only probably this fear will be gone. I'll be very honest. Yeah.
Correct. I think yeah. What I'm trying to get is don't get feared away. I mean,
Yeah.
don't feel that it's something impossible. I think everybody has that fear of FB and Google because somewhere it feels like they ask very hard questions.
Yeah.
Somehow try to give interview. Maybe if you want, you
Yeah.
can try mock interviews also.
Yeah.
And you can try over there and figure out your shortcomings and then give the actual interview. But at least try for it. Figure out your exit criteria. What all you think you need to learn, where all gaps are, and then fix them and go for it. At least try it. If you're not trying, then anyways you're getting yourself blocked only, right? I mean, you're not giving interviews, so whatever amount of time is missed is missed. Otherwise, if let's say you try, after a year you will again get a chance and you can give the interview again, right? So why
Yeah.
delaying, and just fix whatever you need to learn and then give the interview. There's no point, I
Yeah.
think.
In fact, yeah, just one point to it. In professional career spans across, I would say 25, 30 years sort of thing, right? So
Yeah,
you have too many attempts, so at least get to know that what is the thing that you are missing, right? So at least use one of the attempts for that. That's not a problem. So probably
correct,
spend 1 year in a company uh, which you feel right now is best for you, and you can switch afterwards.
right.
So that's, yeah, use one attempt, I would say. I did that.
Got it. Sounds cool. Let's move forward. Next question is resources on LLD that is already done.
Mhm.
Next question is this: I haven't given LLD and HLD round in interviews anytime. How can I get started? I do LLD, some HLD in current role, but not sure how different it will be in the interview. Can you shed some light on this? I think we have already discussed how LLD and HLD interviews will be there, but if let's say you have to, I think different thing in this question
Yeah.
a little bit is how to get started, right? What should be the starting point? So where should someone start from LLD and HLD perspective? What should be the
Mhm.
starting point?
Got it. So again, for starting point, I would say that if you have not done it anytime, like I'll start from LLD. If you have not done it throughout your life now, then probably pick up a problem, any problem which you find on the internet. Just search for LLD problems or anything, and pick that problem and start making code. Let's see what is the point that you are missing, right? Again, comparison. But one of the best thing that I would like to tell now that there is one thing that people are missing these days, and that is so they do a lot of preparation, right? They do a lot of preparation and they go and give interviews. Now that's perfectly fine, but there could be some of the things that they are missing. And mock interviews are very useful in this case. In these cases, I have seen candidates like doing very well, having like too much knowledge, but that is sort of unstructured, like probably telling about the database afterwards and telling other things before. And so the things are not ordered. Telling too much of the things are not also good. So getting feedback from peer or any of the mock interviews is really helpful. So to start with, do it hands on. Don't go
Right.
with theories and work on your basic. Like start with what is solid principles, what are the different design patterns and why are they useful. Don't go across all the design patterns, just pick some basic ones, right? And design patterns are there, solid principles are there. There are a couple of books as well, but probably that will take too much of time. And I totally agree, reading books will again delay your interview process. So I won't suggest that right now, but in the long run you can go through that. So Martin Fowler and a couple of folks have good books. So yeah, start coding whatever language you feel. I preferred Java because I used to code in Java in my previous company, and also I would say I find maximum resources coded in Java. Also, there are a couple of problems which are, I would say, not Java specific, but some interviewers use the words that are used in Java. Like for example, I would say sometimes interviewers ask the design executor service. Now
Right.
that is also there. So executor service is not the term that generally you should use. Now what executor service is Java specific. What is the main problem that you're trying to solve? So
Correct.
that is why I use Java. And one more thing I did, I used to code in C++ in my college days and competitive programming. Last year when I started, I switched to Java. The main reason was that obviously learning two languages, and that too after so much of experience, will be, I would say, a little bit cumbersome. So I thought, let's stick to one language, go in depth in that language only, and that will be helpful. So yeah, pick one language and go in depth, like probably like how hashmap works in that particular language, how sorting works in that particular language. So yeah,
Yeah.
start coding, go with the principle, start coding, and give mock interviews. That is very helpful, I would say, if you
Yeah.
are new. Yeah,
I think
to
mock
get the
interviews help you a lot
yeah,
in figuring out what gaps you have and
yeah,
where should you invest more of your time.
yeah,
So I think they're
exactly.
great suggestions. Let's move forward. How do you prepare for HLD? We have already taken. Um, Next question is from Anandan. He's asking, um, just need to know how many rounds of discussions were there for Google and AWS.
Okay. For Google, I have 6 rounds. Yeah, I one was the screening one and 5 more rounds. So yeah, 6 rounds were there for Google.
Got it.
And yeah, I think that was the maximum round. A couple of more companies took 6 rounds, but generally company takes 4 rounds. Generally, most of the company take 4 rounds only, but Google took 6 rounds.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what were the 6 rounds?
Okay, so the first one was a screening round. So what screening round says is that based on that particular round, you will be decided that for which level should we continue the interview. Like for example, L4 or L5. So that round should go well. Based on
Right.
that, only your other interviews will be scheduled. And then you have three coding rounds, uh, one design round. The design question was pretty different. I have not seen that in other companies, but obviously I can't disclose that. But yeah, that was a pretty different design round. And the sixth one was googliness. So three coding, one design, one googliness, and one screening round.
Got
So
it.
yeah. So
And,
these were the yeah.
and how about AWS? Did you give interviews for AWS also?
I did not give that till that time things were finalized, so I did not give the
Okay,
interview.
let me answer that from Amazon perspective. So
Yeah.
what Amazon has in general, the rounds are,
Mhm.
you have three, four rounds over here also, two, three coding rounds, and one or two design rounds, and then one bar raiser and one HM round. HM is hiring manager round. So generally, overall, it will become again five or six rounds. It's not a specific number. It's like depending on how your interviews goes and what profile you are applying for. But generally, there are four, five rounds depending on different skills. So that's the interview for Amazon. AWS also lies in the similar bucket. Sounds good. Let's move forward. Next question is from Subhodeep. He's asking any programming language you suggest, like some say using Python as it is faster to write.
Mhm. Uh, Again, people can have different views. I use Java because I used to code in Java in my previous company. Mostly, I used to code in Java, not only Java. And yeah, you have too many libraries. I know that is true for Python as well. But yeah, I was comfortable in Java. That's why. And most of the solutions that you find on the internet, like for design patterns on and other examples as well. So that most of them had Java. So that's why I just thought probably I'll have to not work too hard for learning a new language, right? So that I was already comfortable with that. So if you want to learn a new language, like it's up to you. It depends, like which one you want to prefer. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. Another question is a very generic question. I don't know what the person is looking for, but what are you looking forward to in the future?
So Ayush, are you an HR or something like that, or a director from some of the companies? I think this is one of the toughest question that I've seen. A very gray area. Uh, but yeah, I'll be very honest. Like I don't think too much of the future. At that particular time, I was thinking that okay, let's try for a switch. I was in the same company, a fantastic organization. I was in Adobe, but I thought let's try some different things. So I did a switch, and in future again to be very honest, I love my profile, I love this industry. So yeah, nothing as of now. I have some future plans, but yeah, probably I'll be disclosing it at the right time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one thing which Prakhar is looking, I would say, soon in future is his YouTube channel. So I forgot to put his link actually earlier. He has messaged me. Just give me a second. I'll put
Yeah.
his new YouTube channel's link in the chat here. So he's coming up with a YouTube channel. The videos are not yet live, but yeah, he'll be coming up with some of the videos on his channel also.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
just to
saying,
add on, yeah,
yeah,
just to add on, I'll be very honest. Like if I talk about the YouTube channel, so I've been thinking of it since my college days. So it has been 8 years now. So
yeah,
yeah, but finally I'm thinking that okay, it has been 8 years. Don't be too lazy. Let's put some videos that are useful, not the repetitive ones. That's what I've
yeah,
thought. Because we have already very good resources on the internet. Many good creators are there already there. So we have resources for that. For something we don't have resources, I know what is there. That's what I feel. So maybe I'll doing that in future. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's move to the next one. How do you approach solving the LLD question in the interview? Is there any sequence you follow in the interview
Okay.
for the LLD question?
So yeah. So there is a general trend for each and every type of question. Like some things follow for every question, like whether it's a data structure question or HLD or LLD, and that is asking counter questions with the interviewer. Like whenever you hear for senior positions that I've seen, that the problem statement is really ambiguous. You don't know, like design X. Now, what are the features that you need? Now, so ask counter questions. Write all the things. Don't be shy in writing. Whenever you listen a question, think from the user's perspective. Like this is the approach that I follow. Like someone says that design book my show. I am just taking example. So what are the features that book my show can have? Write those. Ask that whether I should cover these things or not. And from the user's perspective, follow a particular workflow. Like I have seen people, what generally they do, like if I talk about book my show, that they generally go and say that okay, when I'll book a movie, I'll do this. No. First, the user comes to your application. So first, give the user a login page. I know this will not be discussed in the interview, but follow a flow so that you don't miss it. So whenever I hear a question, I write the things in order that user comes and he does that, the flow goes like this and all and on and on. Now when you do this, then only when you write na, then only you come to know that okay, you need to focus on these things, and based on that I approach the problem.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Makes sense. I think one of the very important points which even I feel
yeah,
candidates miss in the interviews is coming up with the requirements.
yeah.
Like in the beginning, as you mentioned, like design Book My Show, design Uber, design Amazon, design whatever XYZ you are designing. It's a very, very vague term. There are a lot of features that you can design. And if you do not get those buy-ins from your interviewer right in the beginning, like what the interviewer is looking for, what you both are going to design during the interview, the whole conversation will be very haphazard. It will be very chaotic. You will be saying something, but interview will be coming from different perspective. Maybe let's say you are designing for strong consistency. I'm just taking a random example, but interviewer feels okay, eventual consistency also works here, but you both are conflicting because you did not agree on that non-functional requirement right in the beginning. So coming up with both the functional as well as non-functional requirements right in the beginning is really important. That helps you throughout your interview in making any decision. I mean, for any technology or for any design choice that you're making. So yeah, great suggestion,
Yeah,
Prakhar,
yeah,
on the requirement
yeah.
side. Cool. Next question is for me from Abhi. Can we expect some more LLD videos? I am trying, but the point is it's a little. What should I say? I'm really sorry for not creating so many videos these days, but um, uh, I'll try. I'll answer it this way. I'll try to create more videos. Yeah.
Yeah, too much busy with the schedule. That, as far as I know, yeah, I totally understand.
So many things going on in parallel. So yeah,
Yeah,
but I'll try to create some. Next question is from geeks. Sir, how someone from sales learning data science for job in 3 to 4 months? It's a little again a very general or vague question, but still I like prefer take it.
Mhm. So I'll just read the question: How someone from sales learning data science for job in 3 months? Data
I
science
think
again. Yeah, yeah,
I think the question is how can someone from
yeah,
source start learning data science for job in or maybe complete the learning for data science in three
yeah,
to
yeah,
four
yeah.
months.
Yeah. So, if I talk honestly, now then I'm not too much interested in data science. That's a very good field, but I have not got a chance to work on that. But
Makes
yeah,
sense.
I do know resources are there. Obviously, since you are aiming for data science, you must be knowing better than me. But there are courses on Coursera as well of Andrew NG and all. So people start from that. But yeah, for data science, I may not be the best person. Probably googling it and getting some resource will be a better thing. Data science is not something that I am too much into. Yeah,
Makes sense. Okay, even the same for me. I'm not been much into data science, not been doing it. So I think your question is very valid. How can you
yeah.
start learning from it, geeks? But I think both of us are not that
But yeah,
experienced in data science. Yeah.
just one thing to add, like I'm telling it generally. Normally there are good courses, decent courses, I would say, on Udemy and Coursera. But and Udemy courses are pretty cheap as well, 400 500 rupees. You can go through the contents and try out some I would say some courses. And there must be YouTube videos as well which tell you that when you start data science, what are the things that you need to look. So based on those topics, select a course in Udemy, and probably that could help you in starting that particular thing. It doesn't matter if a course is not so expensive. It doesn't mean that that course is not good. I have done courses from Udemy; they are fantastic. The instructors are good, so you can start this way as well. See the contents and probably go to Udemy and buy a couple of courses. That would be helpful. Yeah,
Got it. Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense. Next question is from sorry, Anil Kumar. Hi, thanks for the session. I'm a backend developer, primarily worked on Python. Um, will it put me in problems, especially for LLD and concurrency?
Uh, Again, I don't think so. Again, language should not be a barrier. Language is just a way you are trying to explain your logic. So no, it won't put you in a problem for LLD or concurrency. So generally, if I talk about LLD or something like that, uh, if you think language is a problem, now focus on pseudocode. Don't go in a particular language, like don't go in Java or C++, because pseudocode is language independent, right? So go with that, and then you can use any language. So if you work on Python, So write that thing in Python as well, and also focus on pseudocode. If in some cases interviewer is not able to understand, then focus on pseudocode. Pseudocode will work in any language, right? That's language independent. So yeah, probably this will work, and you'll not be blocked for LLD and concurrency.
Right. Even I feel the same. Language is not a blocker. Even no company, I should not say no company, but most of the companies don't
Hmm.
require you to be knowing a specific language.
Yeah.
Most of them are fine with any language. So whichever you are most comfortable with, go ahead with that.
Yes. Yes.
Next question is from Umesh. So he's asking, it would be great help for us if you will share resume format and tips which maximize screening and chances. I applied with all possible parameters, but still not getting call from Meta and Google. So what resume format would you suggest? I think again it's a very important question,
Yeah.
um, which can
Got it.
help people maximize their chances.
Yeah. So, resume format. So, I'll explain what are the things that generally people see when they see a resume. Like, whenever I used to take interviews, so I used to receive a number of resumes, and people generally have multiple page resumes. So,
Yeah,
but that is not one of the best thing that HR see for, or the interviewer sees for. Probably try to summarize the things, write the things which are relevant. Like, for example, if for a hacking reason you have worked on Python, just taking an example,
right.
if you worked on Python, then don't write Python in your resume. Write whatever you are comfortable with. It's just that if one day you wake up and you work on a particular language, don't write that in resume. Write brief things which explain the pinpoints of the project, and what you have done, what impact you have created, not what the project did. That's not important. What you did for the project, that is more important. So write that on the resume. Create a one page resume. Matlab, what I have read about the resumes and all, then if you're not doing research work and all, then probably you will not go beyond one page resume. If you are
Right.
going beyond one page resume, then probably there is something that can be cut out from that resume. So focus on one page resume and don't write too much data. Don't put photos and all. No, that's not good. Write your name, email ID, LinkedIn profile. That's all, and write what impact you have created, and you are
Correct.
good to. Believe me, people will like to read your resume. That's what I can tell from my experience. So yeah,
Right.
Udit, please add something that you feel. Yeah, please.
Yeah, yeah. Even I had some points. So recently, I've moved as a hiring manager, engineering manager in
Yeah.
Amazon, and now I have a very active job of shortlisting resumes and figuring out who to move forward with and who not to move forward with.
Sure.
So I give you some insights. So what happens generally is, and this is just for a hiring manager, just think of just you can scale it up for recruiters. What it will be happening for recruiters only for the hiring manager and only for the referrals which I whenever I put a link on LinkedIn or something, I easily get around 400 to 500 resumes. Okay. And now think about it, as a hiring manager, my job is to get resumes for my team. I want to have for my team, right? And if I have 500 resumes, if I give only even a minute to one resume,
Mm.
I have to spend 500 minutes, right? So that's close to around 8 hours or so, right? 8.5 hours. Now, I cannot spend that 8.5 hours, my full day, continuous full day. It will take 2 days approximately if I keep breaking in between to even only review 500 resumes. And that also only one resume per minute, right? And 1 minute is a very short amount of time for one resume to go through. If I see a resume which is 7 pages of length, lot of project experience, start date, end date. See, nobody's looking for those kind of stuff. Next, each of these things in each of the lines. Be precise. Be specific to what you're looking for in the job. What kind of job you're applying, and then as per that structure your resume. Don't put random stuff like um, I see people 8 years experience but putting still their college projects right at the top. I mean, does not make any sense, right? Because your recent work matters, right? If you are 8 years experience, then your recent work should be at the top. I see around 20, 30 lines of summary at the top and in some of the resumes. Again, useless. Nobody's gonna read that. Nobody has that much amount of time. Okay, they will say, okay, Udit has sent me this resume and he has taken some time to send me the resume and I should, read through the whole resume. Nobody does that because it takes a lot of effort to read the whole resume. So my recommendation is, whenever you prepare a resume, only one thing if you can do, just put yourself into the shoes of recruiter or a hiring manager and give yourself 30 seconds or maximum 45 seconds and just read through that resume and see, are you able to get what you're trying to say. If you're trying to say that you are a backend developer who has worked on scalable technologies with some interesting tools like DynamoDB, Kafka and all those stuff, is the person or are you able to get that, idea from that resume after reading it only for 30 seconds? If you're not able to get that idea, you have to restructure it, because hiring manager would also get the same amount of time, even the recruiter will get the same amount of time. So you have to structure your resume really precise and really concise. So yeah, as Prakhar mentioned, try to keep it only one page and only write to the point what impact you created and all that stuff. No need to write all those extra stuff.
Yeah, yeah, very well
Okay,
said. Yeah,
cool.
totally agree.
I think let's move to the next one.
Yeah.
How to get system design experience? How to get system design experience if most of your day job is spent in doing bug fixing, mundane new features?
Okay. So, like if your day-to-day job is different now from what interviews are asking, so interviews expect. So I think look, generally I would say pick up small projects, and that does happen because it's not always there that whatever you feel is good for your career is your current project, right? You have to shape your career, so probably pick up a couple of an easy project to do side by side, not for your earning but just for like learning point of thing, right? Pick up a project and like I'm not saying put Kafka and all in that, but probably see how things work. Go through a number of blogs, go through a number of videos, get a gist of how systems are designed. And if you talk about the hands-on experience, then for low-level design you can do it very easily. Pick up a problem, solve it. Only code is needed. But if I talk about the high-level design, if you are thinking of setting up everything, then that is pretty tough. I'll be very honest, that is not feasible every time. But yeah, focus on some of the things because you don't need practical knowledge of everything. If that is not feasible in your case, no need of practical knowledge, but have in-depth knowledge, right? Because like in college, I would say, okay, in college you studied operating system, so you had a theoretical knowledge, good amount of theoretical knowledge, but it's not that you coded operating system or something like that, right? So have good amount of theoretical knowledge. If it doesn't suit you from the professional work that you are doing, so yeah, have good amount of knowledge. And for LLD you can simply do, I would say, hands on. That would be very easy to do, I would say. That's feasible. Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. Udit, do you have something extra to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of the things you already said. Only one
Hmm.
thing is maybe you can also try keep maybe having an extra project side by side.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have been doing a lot of extra projects throughout my career. Whenever something I work in my job, but I keep my extra project, not for mainly for earning perspective, but mainly from the learning perspective.
Yeah.
Because as you said, many times you cannot do not get a chance to work on some interesting stuff in your job, so maybe you can leverage that extra project to learn on it. But
Hmm.
I think most of the things you already covered, so
Yeah.
that's a good idea. I think we're already up the time. It's already 6 p.m. So I'll just take up last question,
Yeah.
which is a very interesting question from Anil. Um, why I like it? Because everyone talks about only reaching the company, but not after the once you have reached the company, what happens there. So I think that question is specifically that. His question is, um, what is expected from a senior engineer, 6 or 7 years of experience in FANG companies in terms of technical knowledge after the interview? Once you've joined the company, what is your day-to-day job? What is expected out of you? What kind of
Hmm.
responsibilities do you have?
Got it, got it, got it. So again, that's a very good question, but because as you said, now most of the people focus on the interviews, but not the after effects of that once you join the company. So if I talk about the fan companies, na, this is my experience and this is what I felt. So big companies are big companies because they have, I would say, good budget. I would say they can invest on you, like they can hire someone with good logical skill, good thinking capability, and once you come into the company now, they can invest in you that okay, you learn this technology just because our project is on this, right? Contrary to startup, they generally focus that if you know this technology, they will sort of prefer you because they don't have too much of bandwidth or funds to basically support you for some months that you learn these technologies. So for fan companies, I would say the important thing is that have that learning attitude and be ethical to your job. Because what happens now when you join the company now, like, so as a senior engineer you should have breadth of knowledge because like what happens when you join as a senior engineer, moving up the ladder, there are two possibilities: either you become a manager or you become an sort of an architect, right? In both the cases people will be like, people will be looking up to you. You should have a breadth of knowledge. Like someone comes and asks you that okay, I want to design a UI, obviously you don't know the in depth of that, but probably you should be able to give him some direction that go for these resources, probably these things will be better, right? So for that you need, since for that breadth of knowledge, spend time. Big companies do give you time, they do invest in you, and these things do happen. You have to see these things in your career. Moving up the ladder, so generally what I've heard from one of my seniors is that have a knowledge which is sort of a T shape. That means breadth of everything, but have depth of some things, right? Like for example, if someone comes to me that Prakhar, what have you worked on? So if I say backend technologies, so I should be capable enough in guiding that particular folk that okay, this is the backend technology and these things work like this. Maybe is missing right now, but I should be able to give that direction, right? So
Correct.
that's the main thing. So be ethical. So company is giving you time, and be honest. You want to learn a new technology, that's the only option you have. They have spent good amount of money in hiring you. So I would say go there, because people will be looking up to you that you learn things, deliver stuff. Juniors will be looking up to you, and you need to motivate them as well. You just can't cry every day that this is not the technology that I want, and so I don't want to stay here and all. So in fact, there will be responsibilities, and you will be given time for that. That's what I feel, and that is why the culture and all is pretty good there. I'm not saying it is bad somewhere, but generally in the companies where I have worked, like I've been fortunate enough to work in two companies. Both are like extraordinary, I would say. They have shaped my career. So
Correct.
that's why, yeah, be ethical. That's the only thing I would say. With that attitude, you will grow in your career. That's what I feel. Yeah. And
I can also,
anything.
yeah,
Yeah,
I also want to add from manager's perspective now,
yeah.
because I have been an SG for very long in my career, and recently I have moved as a manager.
Hmm.
Um, See, one thing which at least I look for my from my reportees, from at least a senior engineer, or I've talked to actually a lot of other managers also, and one quality which everyone expects from a senior engineer is accountability and ownership,
Hmm.
and taking task end to end. That definitely does not mean you have to work on weekends, you have to work extra hours. That does not mean that, right? What does that mean is if you are given something, right, then you feel accountable for it, you feel responsible for it. What people really don't like, and that's across companies, not specific to any company. What people really don't like is you are not taking your job seriously. Okay, see, you have to be truthful to the task that you are taking up, to the work that you are taking up, and that's the very very important thing that everyone is looking for from a senior engineer. See, not everyone knows everything. Even I don't know everything. Prakhar would not know everything. There will definitely be some shortcomings. Maybe I might be good in specific area A, would not be knowing B area. Prakhar might be knowing C area. Everybody does not know everything. So how better you can be, does it at all does not matter if you are not accountable. If you're not making yourself an owner of something, if you are not making sure that your manager does not have to be involved in everything that you're doing, then you're not a senior engineer, right? As a senior engineer, you are expected to lead stuff end to end, to lead projects end to end technically. And that's where I think a difference between the senior engineer and a junior engineer starts showing up. The more you learn from experience, the more you learn how to take up projects. That's where a senior engineer really shines. You might be seeing these days companies have started asking system design, low level design right from year one. Some startups actually are asking. Like I had a mentee last year. He was just 1 year experience, and Dream 11 asked him full system design, HLD, LLD, and whatnot. So you never know, which company asks what at what time. Though big companies don't ask them, as Prakhar also mentioned. But technologically, why I'm making this point, technologically, actually, most of the people are at the same pace these days, right? Even 2 3 years, people they are learning system design, they're learning LLD and HLD, and they are at the same level technologically from as a senior person also in the team. But what makes a difference is how you lead a project, how you lead, how you take the ownership of something that you are given to. So I would say, if you're looking for what different a senior engineer should do, then my suggestion would be to take accountability of the work that you're doing. That will definitely set you apart.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we are good. We are already 10 minutes up, so I would like to end it here. Thanks a lot, Prakhar, for your time. It was really nice discussing with you. Um, uh, I think people would have also learned at least something about the application process. I mean, the, the preparation strategies for LLD and HLD. So, yeah, I think we have put our profiles in the descriptions if you want to just connect in the YouTube video description, you will find it. And also, Prakhar is taking one-on-one sessions. Even I am also taking one-on-one sessions on Engine Bogie. So again, the description of that link is there. The link of that is there in the description. So if you want to book that, you can book that also. I think that's all we had. Thanks a lot again, Prakhar, for
Yeah,
taking out time
thanks.
for this.
Yeah, thanks a lot to this. We have been planning it for quite some
Yeah,
time, but again, we were not getting time for this.
yeah,
So yeah, luckily this happened today, and yeah, uh, it feels great, to connect with people and generally share what you have learned in your career. So yeah, it was a fun for me, a pleasure visiting this channel, and yeah, hopefully we connect and see how we can help the community. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Prakhar. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you.